Welcome to the first ever Rolectrifying Podcast. I'm Alan Ross, Contractor Relations and Training Manager, and today we're delighted to interview Head of Franchise, Co-owner, T-Boy as well.
Everything, yeah.
Richard Mills from Mr. Charger. Welcome, Richard.
Thanks, Alan.
Right, we've just got really a few quick fire questions for you, just for our audience that are potentially getting into the industry. Even some people that are currently in the industry as well and installing chargers. So no pressure.
Yep.
Just a few questions for you. Richard, first of all, can you share some insights into the current state of the EV market and trends that you're observing?
Yeah, sure. I think as a whole and at a high level, obviously it's very busy. It's changed over the 6 years that we've been involved in this industry at Mr. Charger. So when Martin and I, my co-founder and business partner, set up the business, obviously seen a lot of change. So it's very, very busy from a domestic point of view. So homeowners transitioning to electric vehicles, fleet companies now transitioning part or some or a big part of their fleet, commercial premises wanting chargers for those fleet or employees. Just a whole mixture of the whole industry is now building, I think, quite a lot of momentum. We're seeing a lot of inquiries, a lot of business growth in the industry. And like I say, even maintenance services. And that's just in the EV industry, not the renewable industry as a whole, whether it's solar, battery. So there's a lot of work there. There's a lot of client inquiries and there's a lot of education that's needed because it's a huge change for everyone.
We talk about this a lot on the training events that we hold. That's not sales pitch, by the way. That's just actually coming out and saying it's not necessarily where the money is from a contractor perspective in the install. It's on about the ongoing services and keeping the client locked in with you for many years to come. Obviously offering the maintenance packages as well.
Yeah, it's very important, I think, because obviously from a perspective of people investing in that technology, in that infrastructure, whether it be at their home or their business premises or to run their fleet operations, it's important that they do have a partner that can help maintain, keep their infrastructure that they've invested in working and fully operational, but also assess what they need going forward. So is it upgrades? Is it more chargers, or actually have they got the right balance for what they're using it for now and pre-plan what they need in the future? So I think it's very important that people do have that partnership with us or whoever that has put in that kit, or that they come to us afterwards. They may have had someone else install it, but they want a maintenance partner that can help them on this journey, which is going to be multiple years to come. This is very early still in that adoption and transition. So like anything, you need to maintain equipment, you need to look after it. Things evolve. This is a changing industry as well, where new developments, new technologies are coming on board. There's software, back office providers. There's a lot more to it now that people can leverage out of these charging points.
We spoke earlier about people coming into the market, not lasting, not surviving, probably not putting everything into the industry as well. You've obviously seen a lot of people come and go. What would you say has kept you striving to make sure that you make a success of the franchise model which you've got?
Well, I think it's a number of things. I think obviously some people might have come and gone. It's challenging when you start in a new industry or something that is in that early adoption phase. If I look back when we started 6 years ago, the technology, the charging points have developed an awful lot. There's been times that industry peers and everyone in this industry will recognise that there's been ups and downs, highs and lows. It can be not volatile, but there's peaks and troughs, or there have been along the way, whether it's the government grants when they're introduced, when they're taken away, changes in technology. So for anyone coming into any industry that's new and is in a growth area, that does provide challenges as well. How do you scale to that growth? How do you keep abreast of the technology changes? New players coming into the market. So it's about having, I think, a broad mindset in terms of recognising the fact that there's going to be challenges on the way. Obviously, a stable market that's been around for years. It's more about retaining relationship and competing on price point. This is about understanding where all the changes are coming in technology, building partnerships, whether it be with people that are in your installer network, manufacturers like Rolex, for example, the changes in technology for back office providers. It's a whole mix, and keeping up to date with all those changes and how that's changing. So it's not easy because there's a lot of moving parts, but that's what makes it exciting to us.
So what inspired you from a business perspective? You could have potentially grew a franchise in so many different sectors, say. Why EV charging specifically?
Well, we didn't start the business initially from a franchise perspective. So Martin, my business partner and friend, we started this 6 years ago. We both came from a different industry, and we were looking to do something different with our lives. And we've been invested in a different industry for 20 years, wanted to run our own business. And Martin came up with the idea about electric vehicle charging points. And that was when there weren't many vehicles on the road, very different landscape. And we retrained. We obviously installed a lot of charging points. That's where we came across Rolect. Rolect helped us from the inception of us forming the company. So it's a long-standing relationship that we've had with you guys. That gave us a lot of education. Obviously, we've learned a lot over those 6 years. But I think, we wanted to have something that we could build. It was an interesting sector and something that we can obviously help people transition. Obviously, climate change, all those things are very important. But we did want to do something for ourselves and build a business. So multiple reasons why we did it. And then over the course of time, we realised, right, there's an opportunity to grow this much bigger than Martin and myself. And so we looked at franchising. It's a great model for people to come into the industry. We talked to a lot of people about it, and people are passionate about transition to EVs and renewable energy. So for people like ourselves that want to run their own business as well and take charge of what they do day to day, there's an opportunity for them to become part of Mr. Charger. And obviously it helps us grow and helps us facilitate clients.
And you talk about transition, which smoothly brings me along to the next question. There's a lot of misconceptions, isn't there, and myths about EV charging, EV vehicles, the future. How do you find the future of EV charging?
Really interesting. I think the industry as a whole, the automotive industry, and I expect it will be quite painful for some of those people in it, the manufacturers of cars. Hugely exciting, but a lot of change. It's not easy, but I've been a lover of cars for years, so it's no surprise that I have liked and do like petrol cars and admire all the supercars and things like that. But the electric vehicles are fantastic drives, and obviously you do hear some negativity from people about them. I can't tell you how wonderful they are to drive. It's amazing. Some of them with the power, even the cars that are smaller, they're so much quicker than petrol cars. They're comfortable to drive as well. There's no vibration. You sit there, you can drive a long way, and actually you feel a lot more refreshed than if you're in a traditional ICE vehicle, petrol or diesel. I think some of the misconceptions obviously people hear is they're really expensive. Some are, like petrol or diesel cars, but there's a lot more cheaper options now available to people. I think all the manufacturers, car dealerships and manufacturers are bringing out lower price point models. The second-hand market is growing, but there's so many myths and things you hear in terms of longevity of batteries, servicing costs. They're all just not accurate. The batteries on these cars and the maintenance, the batteries last for a ridiculous amount of time. There's a lot less to go wrong on them. The servicing is a lot smaller, costs and what needs to be done. And the technology far outweighs where we are with petrol and diesel cars. That's why they're quicker. I think the thing that's changing, people talk about range anxiety as well. Obviously, it depends how you're using those cars at the moment. But ultimately, if you're baking in a break, you can generally make it work very easily for yourself. Stop and have a coffee. That's what most people do anyway. There might be certain parts to be fair and balanced where there are infrastructure constraints and they're building that out all the time. But that happens with a change. It's like saying, why doesn't a company have 50 more headcount to deal with every inquiry in a minute? It has to come over time with growth. So I think there might be pockets of places where more investment needs to go into public charging and things like that, but there's an enormous amount of that going on behind the scenes anyway, and active charge points going in all over the place. But ultimately, if you buy a car that suits your needs, so if you're only doing short journeys, local trips, there's loads of available cheaper cars And if you are doing more range, then there's options there as well. So one of the things that will probably change even more so is the range of those batteries in those vehicles and the charging time that it takes to recharge them. So we're really early on, and there's massive, range on some of these cars. It will grow and grow, and actually the time or the battery depletion in those journeys degrades because of regenerative batteries and driving. So it's only going to get easier for everyone with a fantastic driving experience.
One of the myths currently at this present moment in time is electric vehicles are damaging the road, and the only potholes on the road are caused by EV vehicles.
Yeah, I wish. Well, if that was true, I've seen potholes for a long, long time. So, I think there's some bizarre things that go out there, but ultimately, change isn't always embraced straight away. Obviously, it's difficult. So, some people will have to be won over, and it takes some time. But I really can't stress enough that these are great vehicles to drive in terms of comfort, whatever. They are way, I think, more advanced than what we've had before. And obviously, they don't cause the potholes. We've had that issue for a long, long time.
We'll certainly have. Talk me through the process of installing an EV station. So essentially, what does the consultancy look like on paper, whether I'm, say, domestic or commercial premises owner?
Yeah, there's actually quite a lot to it. I mean, obviously, from a homeowner perspective or business, sometimes people may think it is quite easy. It can be easy as well, but there's variation in everything. So from a homeowner perspective, obviously, if an inquiry comes through to us or any company out there, the way that it will work is we would assess your current electrical infrastructure in your home. We would have to do a submission to your distribution network operator to inform them of what we're going to fit, the power. It may need upgrades or changes. So it's not just a case of, okay, we turn up on the day and we can do it. There is some pre-planning that's required to do it in the correct way. We can do it in smart ways. So we've got technology that enables customers to take photographs and pictures of their home setup. Obviously, having done thousands of these as a company and other companies likewise, we can spot what we need to do. Equally, if we need to go out and do an in-person site survey, that happens as well. So we're very flexible. But ultimately, there's quite a lot that needs to go on in the background before the engineer turns up on the day to facilitate that charging point install.
So the best method really is to probably speak to someone like yourselves first to understand what the potential works will be required to carry it out.
Absolutely, and do it as early as possible, because I know vehicles are more easily sourced now than they perhaps were a year ago. But if you're thinking about it, make an inquiry, we can assess it in advance. And obviously, on our website, there are avenues for you to contact us. We do have phone numbers. It's really frustrating if you find a website where there are no phone numbers to contact someone. So either call us or put a web inquiry on the website that says, whether it's domestic, commercial, maintenance, and the team will call you back, and then we will walk you through it or provide that estimate through the systems that we've got and make that personal contact.
And I'm guessing it's key of understanding the expectations of the customers, but essentially they could go on a website and see some big unit and think, I want one of those, compared to what vehicle that they're obviously going to purchase or have currently got. Is there any information out there that they would be required to know from yourselves prior to them selecting a specific charger?
The customer needs to know, do you mean? Or...
Yeah, but, it's often that we get inquiries and they think that they can get one of our big Donton, for an example, 22 kilowatt, 3-phase. And the only reason they want one of those is because it looks really good, it looks really beefy, but it might not necessarily suit their requirements. Obviously, the power comes through to the property, or even suit the capabilities of the vehicle when it's charging. Yeah,
no, very true. And I think sometimes the terminology doesn't help either, because we've got terminology like slow charging, rapid or DC or fast. Who doesn't want a fast charger? I don't want a slow one. So the terminology probably isn't the best, and obviously the technical side of it doesn't always explain it. But for most people in a property in the UK, they have a single phase supply to their home. So the most they can have is a 7 kilowatt, 32 amp charger. That's more than sufficient for people's use day to day. So that generally charges an electric vehicle, fully electric vehicle, giving it about 25 miles of range for every hour it's plugged in. So for a car for example, Tesla, that has a long-range battery. Overnight, it'll be fully charged 9 hours approximately. If it was completely dead, which it won't be because no one drives their car back home with 0 miles, or very rarely, same as petrol. You don't bring it back having it being on fumes. So 9.5 hours to fully charge it overnight, and then you wake up every morning, you've got effectively a full tank of fuel or electric. So that's what I would look at from the home, generally 7 kilowatts. From a business perspective, it's then more about looking at the infrastructure, what power you have available, because obviously you're using power to run your business, your factory, whatever it may be, for other avenues of business. So what do you have that's surplus that you can use to charge your fleet, your vehicles? Do you need an upgrade in power? And how quickly do you need to turn those vehicles around? If it's overnight, then maybe it is 7 kilowatts that's suitable. If it's not, is it 22 kilowatts or a DC fast charger? And it's about finding the right solution that's got balance, from a cost perspective, but from a utilisation point of view as well, and scale for the future. There's no point fitting one DC rapid charger because they can charge one car really quickly, but that doesn't suit the rest of their fleet, and now they have no other power left on site. So it's really about working with a client for their ultimate requirements now and in the future for best fit.
Destination charging seems to be more and more popular. It certainly is in the Nordics, and now it's about maybe having charge points at home, charge points at commercial premises as well.
Yep.
And there's a lot of technology out there, isn't there, where people are able to use certain apps and they get, say, credited with money on their so-called wallet. So fleet drivers are able to drive cashless. We're finding that that's been a huge requirement. Is there any other requirements that you're coming across on a daily basis from business owners?
I think it's probably changed over the course of time. I think that for early adopters that took electric vehicles years ago, obviously they had to have a card for multiple networks. It wasn't payment terminals where you could just tap your card to pay. That's changed an awful lot and obviously made it easier for people travelling around the UK to be able to just pay by card rather than signing up and receiving a particular membership card of a particular network. So now it's changing an awful lot where it's more anyone can use another charger on the road without pre-planning, just turning up and paying. I think there's an awful lot of change coming as well about queuing systems, so you can turn up and how do you queue? At the moment, if you turn up at a service station, what's the etiquette? If there's 10 people waiting, how do you get in that space apart from really trying to fight for it? So I think there's talk about queuing systems, that you can utilise on apps or in the car. So there's going to be an awful lot of change for the good and for the positive. There's been a lot that's evolved and will do for the better. The technology's there now, the software's there. All good things really in this evolving market.
A lot of people are unsure whether to buy a full EV vehicle because then the infrastructure's not there. What's your thoughts on that?
I think people need to make the choice when it's right for them, and obviously it's very difficult to say and comment widely, but obviously people should go for it when the time is right for them. From a business point of view, happy if everyone goes for it, but it's got to be right for that person, depending on their personal or business requirements at that time. They will all transition. All the manufacturers are developing these vehicles, so it's going to happen. But it's a transition. It's not overnight. It's not the next 2 years. It's the next 10 years for a lot of us to get there. But there's a lot of momentum behind it now. So people need maybe more education or, need to find the vehicle that's right for them and the investment. A new car is a lot of money regardless, whether it's petrol, diesel or electric. So obviously I would recommend going full electric rather than the hybrid because I think there's a better experience there and then you are converted. But it is about being cognizant of people's personal circumstances, business investment, but we'll all transition at the right time. And obviously things are moving quickly to support that change.
There's businesses that are wanting to go net zero, more eco-friendly, and that's also an additional message that they're trying to get across to their own clientele and target audience. There's also funding options available, isn't there, where potential business owners are actually not aware of this, through the government schemes?
Yeah, there's a lot of funding available. So yeah, I know governments aren't always popular for the right reasons, maybe. But but there are a lot of grants available to help people transition. So there's the workplace grant for businesses to put in EV charging points. There's the infrastructure grant, which helps them put in the infrastructure, electrical infrastructure, and charging points for businesses, for landlords as well, and also for residential apartment blocks. That's quite a complex use case. So this particular grant in that environment really helps subsidise, because if you're resident A who's 50 metres from the distribution board in the car park, is it fair that you pay more just versus the person that's parked right outside or has to pay right by the distribution board? So the infrastructure grant looks to put in all the pre-planning the cable, etc., so that everyone can pay a consistent and fair price when they transition to an electric vehicle. There's also another one that's just been announced, so government grants for schools to invest in EV technology. So again, making it a cleaner environment for the kids, parents when they drop off, all that kind of thing, but making it feasibly possible. So that's just been announced, and we've seen a huge take-up of interest for that already.
And I'm guessing there's lots of ways we can contact you to talk about grants, additional consultation about fleets, changing over, and even from a domestic point of view, someone that's quite concerned, not sure if they can actually easily get a unit installed at their property. So what we're talking, website, telephone, we'll probably put some links out here as well.
Yeah, exactly. I prefer, in a way, talking to people. So telephone, they're all listed on the website, but obviously it helps if you come through the website and articulate what type of inquiry, put your details in, and then we'll push some communication out to you. But we absolutely will call and want that communication on the telephone. But other than that, all the mediums, social media, but much prefer the email, telephone kind of contact, and we'll share our details here, as will you guys, for any inquiries about manufacturer and the hardware.
Yeah, certainly. 12th of April, we've got the Rolex Mr. Charger Partnership Day, and there will be some installers that are watching our video and thinking, well, maybe I don't necessarily want to franchise, or that is not the route to market we want to take currently. Does that mean that they're not able to come on to the Partnership Day?
No, absolutely not. I think in this industry, it's good to make connections. It's good to build a network, personally, professionally. So it's open to anyone that's within that industry, or from an electrical background or not, that wants to become involved in this industry or has an interest or passion. So it's all about just really, I think, sharing knowledge, training, and building a network between, Mr. Charger, another installation company, Rolex. It's an exciting industry, so why not share our findings, our challenges, and come along and learn more. So open to everyone.
Fantastic. Well, that's Mr. Charger, done, dusted. First podcast done, Rolectrifying. Hopefully you found this quite insightful. We'll be doing plenty more in the coming weeks. Richard, from Mr. Charger, thanks very much.
Thanks, Adam.
Cheers,
Much appreciated.